Woohoo! On our
We're
new
live.
format. It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight. Please join us in the chat room. Participate with others as they watch the show. The link to the chat room is on the geocachetalk.com front page. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to Trail Bugs for the music and our featured patrons, FS Sabero, Geo Rick, Cash Addict Mel, Geocaching Janji, Sir Drumalot, Janice, Tricashius, Tom Frey and Heltonen, Rugels, and Rugels is in Australia. He and his wife headed to Australia, so good for them. Get some traveling in. And EGK PBR. And our new patrons, Hoffer15, H2SG2, Bember, The Happy Hodag, Tick Magnet, Canterlopes, GSMX2, BKQG Family. It's all their names. So they all four of their initials. So that's their one. And then Dog Mom of Two. So if you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get the new blackout coin. I can see what I'm doing now. Here we go. We got this new setup, so I got to figure out how to.
You got to figure out where the camera is, right? You know why I don't have mine?
Why don't you have it? Where is it?
Because it is already packed in my luggage.
Oh yeah,
for my trip to Hawaii.
Woohoo! Going to Hawaii, I know.
That's right. Yeah, leaving in the morning. Actually, we're going to California, catching a Rockies game in California, then heading out to Hawaii.
Going.
Yeah.
Man. Wow.
Which is where I'll be live next Sunday. So
I'm jealous. Yes, you are.
Yes, I'm very, very happy.
Yes, you are.
I even heard they had caches down there, so I may have to check that out.
Oh my.
Which island are you going to?
Wahoo.
Nice.
Oldest one is there. A bunch of caches. It's going to be great.
All right.
How long are you going?
Gary's so mad.
Ruining it.
Give us all.
We're going to be there for a full 7 days, so I'm going to have time to do caching. There's a hike down there I really want to do. A bunch of seafood, and then a bunch of laziness. A bunch of just laying on the beach. Come back super red.
Well, on Thursday, I'm going to New York to see my family. And
Cool.
every time I'm out there, we go every year for like July 4th for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to go fishing with my brother out in the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh wow!
So he has a regular day job, but he also runs charters, and he's a really good Southern Long Island fisherman. So we go out and we catch monster striped bass, and he likes to leave the dock at 5 a.m., which for a West Coast person, it really does feel like 2 a.m. But it's worth it. Just good family time, and we get to do some fishing and relaxing as well. So it looks like me and Jesse are going to have a real good week coming up.
That's right.
I'll be at work. Thanks.
Gary's had a wild week, so he'll take quiet.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
no storms, cars. What else?
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah.
But you're okay. That's what counts.
I am. Yeah. It made my day, Brian, that you sent a note. You're like, hey, I'm glad you're okay. Everything's fine. It's like, Bryan Roth sent me a note. I love it. You made my day,
That is an
buddy.
interesting way to lose a travel bug, for sure.
Yeah. Can you give me a replacement for my travel bug?
we could probably arrange something like that without too much trouble.
All right, sweet. All right. If you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com. So let's get started. Let me welcome my co-host, Jesse.
Good evening. I wish I knew how to say it in Hawaiian, but I can't. So
okay, that's okay. Let's jump right into show 154 for June 23rd. So you guys got me all messed up. It's y'all's fault. No, I'm kidding. Thank you. As we welcome Bryan Roth back to the show. Welcome back to Geocache Talk.
It's good to be back. Thank you guys for having me once again. Excited to chat with everybody.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about tonight.
But
first, we have an announcement, and Brian's going to kind of give us the latest on this announcement. So take it away, Brian.
I have to switch screens so I could read it.
Yeah,
okay. Ladies and gentlemen, geocachers of the world, Mingo Madness is happening.
Woohoo!
May 2nd, 2020. Geocachers from around the world will descend on Colby, Kansas to celebrate the oldest active geocache in the world as part of the 20th anniversary, the beginning of geocaching. The event is now live, and the GC is GC88 V as in Victor 6 Victor. Mark, you will attend, and let's celebrate at the Oasis on the Plains. Keep up with the latest at mingo2020.com.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
What's funny, Brian, is doing some investigating on this location. Here, I'll get off solo. Back to conversation. So, yeah. So, near Mingo is this town called Colby, which most of us probably just miss it when we go to Mingo. You kind of, I was rolling to Denver. I was going to 14er, and Susan and I stopped and got Mingo, and we kept going. But then I heard, where we're going to have this event, because we could have the event at Mingo, but it's kind of like you're out, you're on the side of the road, and you're off the highway, but still, it's like, but they're like, no, we can have it at Colby. And so we started, there's discussions with, we've got a place in Colby, a cool building community center that they've got for us. Indoor event. Can't miss an indoor event. That's kind of a cool thing. But doing some investigating, Colby, Kansas calls themselves the Oasis of the Plains. So I thought,
the Plains. Sounds great.
It's kind of cool to have a little like slogan for your town, And so they've got palm trees in their town. So, and they have a water park. So we're going to try to get them to open the water park.
Everybody thinks palm trees when you think of Kansas. So
right. So it's kind of funny. I kind of like their humor about it. So.
I normally think of the Royals and Garmin when I think of Kansas.
There you go. That's right. Garmin.
There you go.
That's right. Exactly. But anyway.
But now palm trees. And Mingo, of course.
And Mingo. Yeah, Mingo. So
and the largest gopher largest, what is it, prairie dog in the world. Is
largest prairie dog? Is it really?
In Kansas. Yep. It's a statue, but it's there. So
I heard
they don't tell you that before you pull off the highway, but it is.
I heard that the highest point in Kansas that somebody put a where I go. Some crazy person put a where I go at the highest. I'm sure you have to climb. Do you need special gear to get the highest point in Kansas?
It is. It's a peak. It's Sunflower Peak. That's the highest point in Kansas.
Is it really called Sunflower Peak?
Sunflower Peak is what it's called. 230-foot elevation.
Because it's almost in Colorado. I know. It's crazy. But anyway, so Jesse put a where I go there. So that's kind of fun.
Oh, that's the some crazy person.
Whenever I refer to him. Some crazy person.
Nice job.
All right. Well, let's get into tonight's discussions.
Actually, before we do, since we were talking about Mingo, I figured something out literally this past week that I hadn't thought about in many years, and I think it's an interesting fact, particularly because it involves me. But you ready for this?
Yeah.
The first cache ever placed in Mexico was placed by me. GC 120. I didn't even realize it, but I was like just looking back at old caches, and I'm like, GC 120. I'm like, that has to be really early. And I looked at the date, and it was, I want to say it was like December 24th or 25th in the year 2000. And I was on vacation down there. It was only found once. I had no idea what I was doing, to be quite honest. I was staying at a hotel that was sort of near the beach, and I walked down the beach maybe a mile or two and put the cache like up in the dunes. And I think I broke a couple of rules with it, because first of all, it was a vacation cache, but we didn't have rules against vacation caches at the time. Secondly, I put a bottle of rum there because I didn't know any better.
Right.
And as it turns out,
the rules aren't.
Back then. There's a reason rules came into place, right?
Right. Indeed. Exactly.
You made a few of them.
Yeah, Brian did that.
So it was found by a Ryan Air pilot who was staying at a similar hotel, and he just wrote one log, and then soon after it was missing and archived, and Jeremy archived it. But first cache, one find, GC 120.
One find.
I looked at it and I sent a Slack message to John Stanley because he's the data guy and he'll know. And I was like, can you tell me, like, first cache in Mexico, was it this one?
Right.
And he said, yeah, it was. So there you go.
That's pretty cool. That's a
Wow.
cool
Something
stat to have.
something I
Yeah.
didn't know about myself.
That is a cool
I
stat.
know, first cache in any country. Like, who would have thought? It's long since been archived because I didn't do a good job, but it was still means something.
It meant something,
There's-
exactly.
Not that this is a stat that you would, unless you just happen to know this, but there can't be that many countries left without any caches, are there? I mean, besides like North Korea, I got that one.
North
I mean,
Korea.
North Korea, I think that there's some countries in like the African,
Mhm.
in Africa that don't have caches.
Huh.
But I really don't
Okay.
know for sure. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
There can't be that many. This caching is it's covered the whole globe. I guess there's a few pockets of places that just aren't safe,
yeah.
but
Just a few.
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, just not a lot of technology or not a lot of people who are into geocaching.
All the way down in Antarctica, there's even caches. It's crazy. So
Many.
many. Yeah.
Yeah,
wait to
we
get
have
there.
a former lackey, former guy who used to work on our IT team.
Mhm.
He left to move to Canada probably a couple of years ago now, and I just saw him. He came to visit us at HQ maybe 2-3 months ago.
Mhm.
He is going. I think he's spending a full year at the McMurdo station down in Antarctica.
Oh, seriously?
There.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously. And
That's
that
cool.
was, I don't know if it's the first cache in Antarctica, but one of the first ones that I ever heard about was
Yeah.
near the McMurdo station in Antarctica.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
I said, send us a picture from ground zero, and you got to.
Right.
He's like, I'm definitely going to log it. I'm like, all right, let's see,
Good.
prove it.
Good. That's right. That's awesome. Yep. All right. So first topic we're going to get into tonight: Mystery at the Museum from July 11th to August 11th. So I got to tell you, from our perspective, Brian, there's a lot of buzz and a lot of interest and a lot of excitement. I mean, not that there hasn't been with some of the other ones, but I think this is really cool. The idea that you can place clues within different caches and kind of,
It's very intriguing already. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first heard about this, I thought there's a lot of cool. I mean, it really opens up a lot of things because you've got the database, you have all the caches that are out there, and you can kind of, play with what's available on a cache. And so it's like, wow, this is really cool. You can, I'm sure that there was a lot of buzz and a lot of talk about the idea of hiding and making a mystery kind of within a cache. That's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah. So we talk about it in terms of they're like digital game pieces, and you
Right.
can associate them with a cache. And the cool thing is you're not limited by cache size. You're not limited by
Right.
cache type. So there can be a
Mhm.
digital game piece in a micro cache. There can be a digital game piece in an event cache.
Mhm.
And then first of all, a lot of people at HQ have done a tremendous amount of work to put this together. And it's been a really cool exercise in cross-team collaboration because there's web teamwork, there's marketing teamwork, there's mobile teamwork, API team, product delivery teams working on it. There's just been a lot of planning that goes into it because not only is it a promotion, but we're essentially like unlocking this new type of functionality. And
Mhm.
the goal is to see like, hey, do people like it? Does this work? Does it do what it's supposed to do?
Right.
But the creativity that's gone into some of it. I mean, you guys have seen the HQ TV sort of pseudo commercials that we did,
Right.
2 teasers, and that, Jennifer and Chris are both former news reporters. So they brought a level of authenticity
Crazy.
to it. And, it's funny, but that whole background, it looks like it's in a news studio or whatever. That's just in one of our conference room using like some kind of graphical, background.
Right.
And a lot of people did a lot of really good work. And I know that so many folks at HQ are excited just to launch it. And we hope it, goes well and everything works according to plan, but we really hope people appreciate it and that it's a new way of getting people to go out and play. And, one of the big considerations for us was just from a data perspective, how do we set it up so that everybody, regardless of membership type, but literally everybody can go and find all of the things that they need to find to play, to participate, and ideally complete the promotion without, some extraordinary amount of work that makes it impossible. So I'm really excited about the work that the data team has done just to sort of select the cache distribution and how the pieces are distributed. And, it's a lot of people doing a lot of work, and it's going live in just a few weeks. So we're excited.
July 11th. Yeah.
July 11th.
People in the chat room have definitely seen it because they're talking about the reporter's name that was on the thing.
Geocoin. Oh,
Yeah.
those were all surprises to me. When I saw that video for the first time, first of all, I watched it more than a few times because, the T. Goldman Museum, Geocoin. And then if you look at the little ticker across the bottom, it was like they reference a dog named Gabby, who happens to be Jennifer's dog. And it was just a lot of funny little, things to delight people. And it certainly delighted us internally. And, our hope is that people just get excited about it and check it out. And if it gets, gives people another aspect of geocaching to go out and enjoy, then that's a huge win for us. And, it's very well aligned with what we're trying to do. So I'm super excited.
Well, it seems like it's really bringing a lot of things together too, because you've got the Mystery at the Museum is already in the app, ready and waiting. You can't start. There's a timer in there, and the video promotions ahead of time and high quality video promotions ahead of time.
Yes.
That all builds the excitement. And, of course, I immediately went to the app and was like, tapped on the, hey, is there anything in there? It's like, I have 15 days and 9 hours,
Yeah.
So it's the building and I think and it really wouldn't apply to this one, but the leaderboard doesn't really apply to this one. But I mean, you're bringing in every aspect of the new stuff that y'all been experimenting with, and there's a lot of buzz about it. So that's pretty good.
Good. That's the way it should be. We're one of the things that we try and do as a company is we're trying to get better. We're trying to get stronger. We want to do a better job. Our mission of inspiring and enabling discovery, exploration, and adventure is something that, we can't just rest on what we did last year or what we did 10 years ago. So how can we push the envelope? How can we try new things? And, we go into these things, and one of the phrases that we use pretty frequently is like, hey, this might not work. It might not work, but we're still going to try it. And we're going to put our best effort. And if it does work, well, then we've got some other ideas of what we can do with this functionality that can entertain more people, give people more of a reason to get off their couch and go outside. So we're working on it. This one will be the culmination of quite a bit of work.
Yeah, it seems like it.
There's a lot of excitement.
Is there any information about what keeps getting asked in the chat room? And this may not be anything you can even mention yet, but is there any information about how the caches will be picked as far as where the digital souvenirs, or is that something that's kind of behind the scenes that can't be said?
I think really what I said earlier is it's chosen so that nobody has to travel too far to actually be able to find, a certain number of them.
Right.
And then I think as it gets into the higher levels, it may get a little bit progressively harder, but it's nothing that the overwhelming majority of geocachers cannot do if they're willing to put in some effort. This isn't, we've done in the past some of the leaderboard promotions where it's like, go find X number of caches. And that's something where, people go out and they're like, all right, I solved this in 3 hours. They just went, did a crazy power trail, and they're like, all right, promotion's done. What's next?
Exactly.
The goal was not to make it that easy, and not to say that people won't go out and do a monumental effort and work through it, but it's something that is meant to not just engage people for a day or a couple of days, but we've got a month-long period, and it's just meant to be fun and like, hey, go experience this, go play with it, see what you think about the functionality. And if folks like it, then we know it's another tool like Leaderboard that we can roll out to deliver new style promotions and things like that.
Well, I think it's got to be challenging too from y'all's perspective, because no matter what promotion you put out, even if you try to have a graduated scale, it doesn't matter how extreme you put something out, somebody will go out and max it out immediately. Because people do extreme stuff. most people don't do that extreme stuff, but to have a scale that's not impossible for people, somebody's going to be able to max it out in a day. They'll like sleep in their car for 5 days. People do a lot of weird stuff, but
and you know something, that's the
that
beauty
guy,
of this.
Brian.
Do it. Listen,
That guy.
that is the beauty of this community, is that look, if
Mhm.
you're that type of person, go get after it. I want to see who's going to finish it first. Somebody wants to be that
Mhm.
person. And
Sure.
people all over the world, there's enough people who are going to say, hey, let's get our crew together. Let's go out and we'll get it done, that
Right.
night. One of the cool things to note is that, and maybe this was in the blog, sort of the informational blog, is that,
Mhm.
if the two of you guys are looking at the app and you're looking at the same cache, that cache will have the same digital game piece for both of you.
Mhm.
So if you're doing this as a team and you say, it's not sort of mix and match based on the person, they're going to be set at the beginning of the game.
That's cool.
And there's also functionality, not that we really want it, but one of the thoughts is like, what if somebody says like, oh, I don't want my cache to be part of this promotion?
Oh.
Like, for me, I don't understand why they would, but we built functionality. If somebody wants to opt out, they can go, right to our CE team and we'll take their cache out of it. I don't expect a lot of those things,
Right.
but it's one of the ways that like the team really thought through how can we do this the right way and give ourselves the latitude so that we don't want to upset anybody. And we know that like no matter what kind of promotion we do, there's somebody
Right.
out there that's going to be pissed off.
Some crazy
So
person,
how much can we do to mitigate that? And in this particular case, I think a lot of work has gone into it. There's been a lot of teams, again, cross-team collaboration and just testing it and trying to figure out, are there bugs? What are we going to find? And, as much as we can test it at our scale and get a lot of people in the company looking at it, until you put it out to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, we'll see how it works. But we've got a high degree of confidence that everything's going to work. And if it doesn't, we've got the whole team ready to go and ready to just keep it moving forward.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to mention tonight also is that when we get through with some of our topics tonight, we are going to do sort of a little bit of a Q&A. So if you have questions for Brian or for us, kind of remember that. And what we'll do is we'll be able now with this new setup that we have, that I can highlight a comment and we can discuss that comment. So for example, here's one we won't talk about, but Houston, Texas Day wants a Geocache Talk patron leaderboard. But the cool thing is with this new technology is we can talk about a particular question. So if you have a question, we'll get to those questions a little bit later once we've gone through some of our topics tonight. So get those questions ready, and I'll let you know when we get to the Q&A part of the show. So
something that's interesting, just while that question is out there. I believe that we actually have the functionality available where we could give you guys access to group functionality where you could create a private group that would have its own leaderboard. And here's something after this show, at some point next week, reach out to me and let's see if we can make that happen, because it's been built. We have a number of use cases that I think we'd like to test it for. But this sounds like a good one to me, and I think that's a great question. If we can make that happen,
is awesome.
That would be it'd be really interesting. And
we'd love to be
very cool.
Anyway, so
I may be wrong, but I don't think so. And I think what it entails is that you would actually not just have a leaderboard where you could designate all of the people in the group that would get to see that leaderboard, but I believe that you may have the functionality so that on a weekly or monthly basis, you could change the point values of different things. So you could say this month's, this month's group is, we're going for, T3s are the only things that count, or events count for 10 points, something counts for. I think that we have that. If we don't have it, we could have it.
We won't hold it to you, right?
But I do think
people have been dreaming about with your leaderboard. I'm telling you now.
Okay, me too.
Right.
So I think we can make that happen. So
cool.
Let's talk about it offline next week.
Awesome.
Right. Good question.
Be incredible. See what you did in
That's
Houston,
great.
Texas, Dave? You did great.
You picked
So,
a good example question.
good example. Absolutely. So, all right, let's talk about Virtuals 2.0 for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not very happy at all. I think this is a lousy idea. It stinks.
And I think it's
I'm
great.
upset, and I want to talk to the president. No, I'm kidding. Just having fun with you. No, I'm excited. I really am. And um, I guess let people know, because we've got, ironically, of the two co-hosts, one of us did, one of us didn't. And I think that, as you can imagine, people out in that watch the show or watching right now, I'm sure we've got some that did.
We do have a mix of some that got them and some that
we have a
didn't.
mix. So I guess confirm again for everybody that you just didn't pick, Jesse because he's good looking and all that. You had like an actual something that y'all did correct, that you did it the correct way. Go ahead, Brian. Tell people what y'all did.
It's true. So I'd like to think we learned some lessons last time. Last time we put it out, and I think we referred to people as top hiders, and it was the algorithm that we used to choose those people. I could say it's top hiders based on one definition, but by a number of other definitions, that's really not a fair thing to say. And so, we tried to clarify that, and obviously we pissed people off. People were very happy. There's a lot of new virtuals out there, which I think is the biggest win in all of it. But this time what we did was we said, okay, what have we learned? How can we do it better? We created a series of minimum criteria that just designates that, like, hey, you're a good cache hider. You care about cache hiding. You're an active player. So we had assigned some virtual credits to people who, basically stopped geocaching a year before. And it was like, oh, that's sort of a waste because they don't even want it. This time what we did was we created the minimum criteria. We sent emails out. We did what we could to tell the community, hey, if you meet these criteria and you're interested in a virtual, fill out this form. And then we took all of the entries and we did a random drawing, but it was random, but with some regard for geographic distribution. So what we wanted to do was make sure that just because you were, if you're in a really small country compared to like the United States of America, it wouldn't be fair if the US got all of them and like, oh, sorry, the odds are you're not going to get any anyway. So we sort of made sure that a certain number of entries from each country would get randomly chosen as well. So it was random. I've spoken to friends of mine that are really good cache hiders who were like, in one person, in fact, I'll tell you this dialogue because I found it to be, it was comforting, but it was also awesome. This is a friend of mine who lives in Munich, and, he basically said he got one. And we've known each other for many years. He didn't get one the first time, so he got one this time. If you got one the first time, you didn't get one this time because we want to make it a little more fair. Yeah. So he said to me, he said, I got one, and you said it was random, right? And I was like, yeah, it was random. I said, I got to tell you, I said, not only did I not help anybody to get them, because look, it wouldn't be right. I mean, like, of course we're not going to do it. I said, but knowing you as a cache owner and as a player, you wouldn't want my help. You want to earn it the fair way. And he's like, absolutely. He said, I would be disappointed if I knew that I didn't get it fairly, which I think is there's people out there who are like, oh man, I've tried twice now, or I've tried once and I didn't get selected the first time. And, I've got this great place and I hope somebody else doesn't take it. I think what we would like to see is that if this continues to work, I think we continue to have the opportunity to do it again at some point, and just get more of a distribution. Because what's cool is that by awarding these, to individual players who have demonstrated interest, I think we're getting a really good caliber, high caliber of virtuals created, which that's a huge win for the whole community. It's a win for the hiders. It's a win for the community. It's a win for us because it makes for a better experience. So it's been really fun, and I have to give credit to our director of community, Cindy, who is Frau Potter, who has really spearheaded this, and then her team and the data team and the engineering team. Again, it's a lot of teams working together to try and deliver something that's really fun. And I think as a company, we're going to look for more ways to do things like that.
Yeah. We actually had on our website, Brian, like we kept up for a while, like the first 20, we put them on the website, and we have a link based from Project GC. We've got a link that's actually still out there if you want to go see. And it's got all the latest, all the virtuals that are newer. But what I think is cool is that the ones that we heard about, we've had discussion. Jesse had a group that he is familiar with that did one. They did kind of a cool deal. What did they do, Jesse? They did it at the four corners of the monument of the
there's
four
one in
states.
each. So in each state, there's at the four corners, there's
Yeah,
one
sure.
in each. So it's
Four
four different
corners.
states.
Four
But
different
it's
states.
one, federal area, so they allowed it in. You couldn't have one before then.
Right.
And
so
so it's four states and four virtuals within
four virtuals you can be involved in getting. So yeah, neat.
That's a pretty neat one.
Neat ideas.
It's something special for the community to go do.
Right.
It'll be we talk about, and I think I've mentioned it before, but like we talk about story-worthy moments.
Yes.
Like how do we as a community create story-worthy moments for other members of the community? Doing something like that, it's like you could say, I logged 4 virtuals at the 4 corners. Like that's cool. That's really something that people will go out of their way and say, I want to go do that one. I want to be able to say I did it. And that's really neat.
And they do work perfectly for those situations where you can't put a container, you can't put a cache, you can't put a traditional or anything like that. So there are times where I think it fits. It fits perfectly. So there have been a lot of cool virtuals over the years. I've kind of tracked those in a book.
Yeah, I found I read that book. I think
you read that book, but those are the kind of cool things like you're talking about, Brian, that are memorable. And I think that even in Jesse and I's discussions and some of the shows we've done, we've talked about that it's okay. It's nice to have, Joe, this random cache in this little spot, but what could we do? And I think I've noticed also that we've started to see a lot more thinking about
much higher quality.
Much higher quality. I think we really have, and I think you guys have really worked hard to promote and to contribute in various ways from your side of it. Also, like you said, it's a team effort. So we've got people. We've got WV Tim, who's doing all those crazy cool caches in West Virginia. We've got I think he's in the chat room, Bounce, who's up your direction.
Oh yeah,
he's in the chat room.
He's got some really great stuff.
Yeah.
He showed up with Goblin Dust at HQ a few weeks back, and he brought one of the puzzles that he was working on, and oh man, like lackeys were just coming in and out of the visitor center trying to solve it. I worked on it. I had a co-conspirator, the senior product manager who's working on the Adventures platform. He was in there with me, and I was like, you got to meet Bounce. You got to meet Goblin Dust. Like these are some of the premier cache hiders in the Pacific Northwest, and just look at what they're doing with creativity. And it was hard to solve. I have to say, it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
they brought a couple of them down to Geo Woodstock, and that's the first I'd ever seen them in person. Those containers, and oh my gosh, that's just the creativity blows my mind with something like that.
Yeah, he did one at Bounce did one at Geo Coin Fest when it was out in Issaquah.
Yeah,
and it was Simon Says, where there were four buttons, and each person had a button, and you got to the table and you had to get through a certain number of sequences. But depending on who you were paired with, it got pretty hard because it only takes one person to mess up.
Start all again.
That's
and it's
awesome.
like I'm ripping my hair out trying to get that. But eventually, it's like no, don't hit it.
No. So yeah,
we worked it out. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I think talking about quality, I think this and fairness and everything else, y'all are doing a great job on this virtuals. How you're spreading them out, and we know, Gary and I know, we've talked about this many times, just like whether it's a mega event or anything else, there's no way to make 100% of people happy, but y'all are doing a good job of hitting quality.
And I'm happy. I didn't get one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you know what? It just means there's others out there that I will be able to find. So
Well, and if you know you're not going to get one again, if you only get a chance to get one, you're going to put it out high quality. You're not just going to throw that out
That's
there.
true. Yeah, Jesse is off the list, right, Brian? That's it. No 3.0.
For now.
Just get
We're
one.
done. Oh, listen to that. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. All right.
But also somebody mentioned in the chat room, so I'll bring it up. They said, I hope one gets in my area. And y'all did a good job. I thought it was really cool. I think Chris, I heard it first from Chris about, they're going to try to spread it out.
Yeah.
But you still can't control where they are. I've got one. It doesn't mean it's going to be in my county or my state even, right? So even if you gave one to every state, that doesn't mean it's going to be one in every state. So you can only control so much of it.
Exactly. But we can only do so much.
But more than likely, you'll end up at a cool place that you want to go. I mean,
because if you're only getting one, you're going to do that one really.
You want to put in a cool
place, exactly. And I've heard of people putting him in some really, what's interesting is talk to somebody that got a virtual, particularly this time with the opt-in, and people, it's almost like, in a very different form, of course, but like you buy a lottery ticket, and the odds of, lottery is a tax on people who can't do math. Like, you're not going to win,
right.
But for that moment, like you're gonna think about like,
I gotta try
all the great things that you're gonna do with it. But this is much different scale, much better odds. So all of a sudden, it's like people are getting it. It's like, yes, I had this plan. I want to do something special. So that's something where people are excited. They get to make this sort of virtual dream come true, and then the community gets to benefit from all the effort, all the creativity, and all the care that's going into hiding these new caches. And for us, a focus on cache quality is something that I think you will see more of from us as a company in the coming year and years. I think we, the most recent promotion that we had, Cache Carnival, having extra points for caches that are highly favorited, and cache owners getting acknowledged for the work that they do.
Yes, that was
something where just saying cache quality is important, and we want to do everything that we can to inspire people to create better caches. And really, I think there's some things that we're gonna have to start doing when there are caches that are languishing, or where there's cachers where somebody put it out and they're not playing anymore. They haven't been involved in the game for years. And how do we find that balance? I think is something that we're going to work through, just again to make it a better experience.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So we're stacking up the questions, Gary, in the chat.
Yeah,
room.
I know.
I'm trying to keep up with them all. Just let you know.
All right, let's jump to Adventure Labs.
Good, because that's a bunch of them right there.
There's a lot of questions. Yeah, and so actually, let's hit a couple of comments if we would, or questions.
So UDAC has some pretty good ones about as you're looking through those.
Yeah, I saw that. You want to do that one?
Okay.
Question for Brian. I thought more people. I thought more people in my area we were awarded this cache, but only one popped up. Will more be released, and when will the app no longer be beta?
And I think not everybody that got them
did
them, like
two
virtuals
questions.
too.
First, correct. Not everybody that got them put them out.
Right.
The second thing is this past week we released another 250 credits. Cool. So there's more out there. There's a possibility we may go a step further with those credits, but right now what we're trying to do is, again, test it. We are, at the same time that we're putting them in the hands of creators to go build experiences, we are working on the functionality. We just added, I think last Monday, maybe the previous week, I think it was last Monday, we released a sort of a ratings widget. So now when you finish an adventure, you can rate it 1 to 5, and then anybody who goes and looks at an adventure can see, this one is a 4 out of 5, and 13 people have submitted a review. And again, it's about how do we incentivize quality, how do we reward quality. There's still a lot of work that we need to do on that app to get it to the point where I think we'll be comfortable saying that it's out of beta. The cool thing is, right now it's playable. People are building incredible experiences. It's amazing. I spent some time this past week with some folks that are on the Adventure Lab product delivery team, checking out Joshua Johnson got a credit for Adventure Lab. Again, all
Yeah.
random, but sure, the guy certainly deserves it. And then he went
Yeah.
out and created this cool video about
Yes.
the tour of Prince locations
Yeah.
in Minnesota. Like
Right.
for me, having seen that, like I want to go do it.
Right.
Of course, but
Not to see the video. I know. Me too.
but not only do I want to go do it, we have to be able to give better tools to the community so that, if I go do it, I want to be able to tell Joshua what I thought of it and say, hey, this is not just a 1 to 5 rating. I
Yeah.
want to do, how else can I give feedback? And what we're trying to do with the Adventure Lab application is we're trying not to limit ourselves to sort of the rules and forms of interaction that are involved with core geocaching. What we're
Right.
trying to look at is, hey, we've got this new app, this relatively new platform that is
Mhm.
well tied to core geocaching, but is there another way we can do this? Is there a better way we can do it? So the teams are going to be doing testing, and we're going to be trying new things and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and ideally moving forward with the things that resonate better. So it may be a while before it's out of beta, but what I can say is that in the coming months and ideally well beyond that, we will be working to make a better platform for people to create, share, and play these types of experiences. And in doing so, we want to get people off their couch. We want to get people outside.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's just like geocaching, except now we've got another way to play. We've got multimedia. We've got triggers. We
Right.
have linear and nonlinear experiences. So
Yeah.
that's
Right.
where it's at today. The team's hard at work. I had a meeting with the head engineer, the lead engineer on that team this afternoon,
Cool. Cool.
just to get together and talk about some of the fun things that we're planning on doing. And it's we've got big aspirations for it. The cool thing is it's free to create them and it's free to play them. And I think that let people go out and build fun things. So 250 more credits this week. So that's probably, I think some people will go out and create them relatively quickly. Some people are going to take their time. But what it means is that directory is going to continue to fill up with fun experiences. Ideally, they get, there's some people for whom it's like, oh, I can't do this. It's 100 miles away. Ideally, we start to decrease the distance that people have to travel to do a fun one, and even more so, give them reasons to travel for some of the really, really good ones that are being built.
Oh yeah, we got just really cool ones at Geo Woodstock recently, and somebody came up with a great idea, and that was it was called Fort Worth Noir, and they put the Adventure Labs at all the different neon light, because there's a bunch of neon lights in downtown Fort Worth, and so and they actually had one that they gave you the instructions for it, and what you did was they have like a video a visitor bureau board, interactive board, where you touch the board and it gives you information, and the Adventure Lab had you go to the visitor board and click on this giant screen, like touch screen outside, and so you click on the board and you get information off of their visitor board to add to the Adventure Lab. So
that was cool
to get the completion of the Adventure Lab. It's like, oh my gosh, think of all the cool, people are really being creative and thinking of these little different ways to incorporate, like you said. It makes, it was enough memorable for me to, that's the memorable one that we did. We did several of them, but that was one that really came up, I guess, as a, very memorable. And that's kind of the idea, I think, is really
great. Hopefully we're going to see a lot more of that. And I know we're looking at ways in the app just to visualize like where they all are. You look at it right now, that's a long directory to scroll through, like a map view where you can go and just look at all the dots. That could be pretty awesome. I know the team's looking at that, and there's some other ideas that are in the hopper that we're going to consider.
Yeah.
So to summarize, that was actually one of the big questions. That was the map and being able to see and search and everything else.
Oh, the map. Yeah.
Summarize some of the other questions. It's currently in beta and y'all are building it. Will it ever be integrated into like cache count or into the geocaching map, like when everybody goes to the regular geocaching map, or is it always going to be a separate thing, or is that still up in the air, sort of?
It's it's integrated in the overall find count. The statistics integration, I think, can be better. I don't know when that's going to happen. I would imagine we'll get to it at some point. It's not the highest priority right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in terms of when will we get to see a map, I'm not sure how soon that's going to happen. I think it is, I looked at a deck last week that's like a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 deck of things that the team is talking about working on. It is a lot of work that they're talking about undertaking. They've got big aspirations for the platform. I think that the maps thing is, I don't think I'm wrong about this. I think it's in phase 1. So I would expect that to be a higher priority. And sometimes soon, whatever soon means, but maybe in the next few months we'll have a map, if not sooner. Hopefully it's really soon, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. And Albedo 0.3 mentioned that you go to Project GC, you kind of get a lab cache find off of Project GC. And Tom had to bring this up, so we had to talk about it real fast. But so at Project GC, they had at Geo Woodstock, they had Signal riding around in a NASCAR. I don't know if you saw the pictures of this, Brian, but because they had an event, which is cool that we're able to find ways for geocaching, to be exposed to other things like this NASCAR out at the Texas Motor Speedway. And so they had people riding the cars, and we had Signal in they have like limos that ride around on the track, 100 and whatever miles per hour it was, Brian. But anyway, there's pictures of Signal in there going around the track.
Really? So I saw one picture of Signal at NASCAR's. I think I saw it on Facebook, where it looked like he was in the pit area. But I certainly didn't see him going 100 miles an hour. That's pretty awesome.
There actually is a video out there. So
there's a video out there.
If you guys know where it is, just message me.
I'll send it to you.
I'd love to see it, of course. That may be the fastest Signal in history.
Fastest frog ever. All right, cool. Well, we're gonna switch gears again. Fastest frog ever, man. All right, so let's talk a little bit about 20th. We already mentioned about Mingo Madness. I think we're already up to, I don't know how many. We got to go look and see how many. We've already got a lot of Wiltons already, so this is gonna be cool. But that's an example, and there's several events next year, and it's gonna be cool. People are gonna have to kind of like pick. That's the neat thing. They're gonna pick and choose what they want to go to because there's gonna be a lot of great events. But you guys are throwing a party, kind of, sort of. I wouldn't say like block party, but I'm gonna let you kind of talk about the 20th anniversary party in Seattle, and tell people. I'll give some details as we're at the Seattle.
I can give you some basics. So
Seattle Center. Right.
Yeah. So we really don't know how many people are going to show up to a 20th anniversary celebration. So our sense was that we couldn't use the plaza behind our office again. Even when we had, say, somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000, it got pretty crowded. So while it's possible that maybe we'll get 5,000 people, I think it's also possible that maybe we'll get 10,000 people. Some folks had speculated even more than that, and I guess we'll know a little bit better as it gets closer.
Yeah.
So it's Saturday, August 15th. One of the things we did was we kind of rented out a big part of the Seattle Center. So we've got the Fisher Plaza, Fisher Pavilion sort of area. It's got the International Fountain. It's the area where the Space Needle is, where the what is it, the Museum of Rock and Roll. So it's a very big tourist destination for people coming to Seattle already. So the amenities are there. There's restaurants. There's a lot of hotels in walking distance. Good public transportation. The monorail is there, so people could take the monorail downtown if they want to go to Pike's Market and things like that. It's really a nice central area within the city of Seattle that we felt would be great. We're working with an event planner who happens to be the event planner that managed our most recent few block parties. She doesn't.
Cool.
Once we stopped doing block parties, she went off on her own and created another event planning company. But she's back. She knows geocaching. She knows Signal. She built the adventure lab down in Astoria, Oregon, that we did for the Goonies 30th anniversary, and she's
neat.
super creative, super talented. So I think the time is 10 to 5, although that may change, but I'm pretty sure that that's what it is. And if I am not mistaken, and again, I don't think I'm mistaken, I think the cache page goes live sometime tomorrow.
Oh, neat. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
So they're a lot of the details have yet to be filled in because we've got a little bit over a year to go.
Right.
But the goal, and one of the ways that we're thinking about it at headquarters, is how can we work with the community to give a gift to the community? And it's something where we're gonna talk with the Washington State Geocaching Association, who's gonna have their going ape the next day. We work with the Land Sharks folks to get Geo Woodstock close by. We work with the Geo Woodstock organization committee so that we could kind of change how Geo Woodstock is done, because it's traditionally July 4th or Memorial Day, and we know after talking to someone, that Joe GPS would be super excited about having bookends with weekends where, come to Seattle, because it's going to be, come to the Pacific Northwest, because between the 20th anniversary celebration, the Going Ape event, all of the stuff that's invariably going to take place, before that and in the week in the middle of them, and then go up to Canada and do Geo Woodstock. It could be, a pretty amazing time. I'm super excited for it, and we've got a lot of work to do, and I know that there's a number of even folks like Bounce. We've talked to them and said, hey, super creative person, like, how do you want to contribute? There's probably a few ways, and the goal is to say, for Seattle and Abbotsford, how do we welcome the global geocaching community to the Pacific Northwest and show them a really good time? So that's the plan. It'll be interesting to see how many folks actually show up. So I think as I said, I'm pretty sure the cache page goes live tomorrow, and so we'll get some will attends. But eventually we'll have some sort of a registration site. It will be, of course, free for geocachers to attend, and there'll probably be coins and shirts and other merch that you could pre-order and things like that. We're sort of just getting started on those details. So we have a little bit of time, but I suspect it's going to be here before we know it. And I know, we've spoken to folks from all over the world who are saying we will absolutely be in Seattle. So come on out. It's going to be pretty wild, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've
a wild week, just a whole week long celebration.
Yes, nobody's going to sleep. I think for about 10 days straight.
Right.
It should be so. And for geocachers who can take the time and certainly have the means to travel like that, we want to honor them with a fun party and a fun week, and bring the community together and celebrate together the fact that it's going to be 20 years since this game started, which is pretty unfathomable to think about that it's been that long. Yeah. But look at how far it's come. Look at how many people's lives have been affected in a positive way since May of 2000, myself included. I know you guys, I know your audience members as well. Every one of them in some way has been positively affected by this game. And then, to think about, hey, now we all get to celebrate 20 years and let's keep it going for another 20 or 40 or 100 or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, we definitely later on, Brian, we'll have to have you back and just kind of talk about the 20 years, because there's a lot.
Yeah,
we talked some about it, but I think there's a lot of things I think that people would love to hear. We did that, of course, first time we had you on. We talked about some of that, but just and we talked about some of that before the show, that it really has had such a positive impact in people's lives, and that's been neat. I know you've gotten conversations with people, and we've had emails from folks who have told us about how what geocaching is. I mean, it's hard to explain to somebody about this game, sport, hobby, that it affects them in such a way that it's hard to explain. But we were talking about and something I thought of when we talked about the different celebrations we're having up in Seattle is the people that we get to see again. I mean, that's kind of the thing that's neat about these events is we have a friend, Craig Michelle, lives in Australia, and he got to go to, he was in Cincinnati, Gigastock, and we got to hang out. And but it's like sad, he goes home. It's like I may not see him again for who knows how long. But he's like, I'm going to Seattle next year. It's like, all right, let's get the gang back together. Let's see everybody, because that's the fun we have is going to events and seeing everybody. And that's, man, I love everything else, but
the people are the greatest part of this whole thing. The community or this is a community game, and it's the best part for me, absolutely. And the cool thing is, this is a time in sort of the development of humanity in general, and like human progress, where you don't just get to meet them one time, but even though you're going to get to see them again, between that, you get to see them on social media. You could FaceTime them and have instantaneous conversations. You really have the ability to stay in touch with your friends all over the world in a way that 10, 15 years ago, nobody had that. Our kids are growing up in a world where communication with everybody in the world is now possible. I remember when it was like you couldn't make a long distance call across the country because they're charging me $5 a minute. My parents are going to kill me. So
the kids are like, what's a long distance call? It's like, oh my gosh, you don't understand.
There were long distance rates. You call outside of your area code and you got charged more. Yeah. And so because that's changed, that's something that has helped to enable the kind of community that we have. It's helped us to create the bonds that really keep people together and communicating and caring and sharing. And that's the foundation and so much of the strength of what we get to share, that it's almost like so many things had to come together in the right way to make what we're experiencing possible. And I think nobody really takes it for granted. We know better. And it's we're the fortunate beneficiaries. Like, we stand on the shoulders of giants in so many ways, and we get to appreciate this technology that not only gets us outside, but helps us develop a social network that today can span the globe, literally. And it's a real treat. And then, hey, next year we're going to get to see so many of those people, which it's you can't beat it. It's really a treat.
And it's instant friends. When you meet a cacher somewhere else, even somebody you've never met before, you're instant friends. You have a huge part of your life that's in common, and it can be from any of the 7 continents, right? I mean, it can be anywhere, and you instantly have a new friend right there. So you can't put a value on that.
No,
you can't put a dollar price on that.
It's priceless. You're absolutely right. It's priceless.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do a little questions in the Q&A. Go ahead and put in wherever you want, and I might bring it up.
And I'll touch on some of the other ones too. But
you can, like that one, Brian, where Charles Watkins, friend of ours, he mentioned that he reminded us that's where you met Heidi, right?
It is. As I was saying, this game changed my life. So it was GC26D6. November 18th, 2001.
Yeah, you better not forget that.
I mean, it's engraved. It's hardwired in here.
In my head,
it was a day that changed my life. I met Heidi and I met Dylan, who I've adopted now. It's been, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago. Like, I adopted him, and we've got Nicholas, and we've got. We had our dog with us, and now I have our other dog who's lying down on the carpet next to me right now.
Hanging out with Dad,
But we met at a geocaching event. It was hosted by Mountain Bike. It was his first event, and it's been great. We've been this August we will have been married for 15 years.
That's awesome.
Thanks geocaching community for helping to put us together. Really.
Right.
We don't have that same story, but it's funny when the 20th year celebration was announced and Vancouver, my wife and I were standing there. We were at Jill Woodstock, and it's on our anniversary, our 22nd wedding anniversary. So we're like, sweet, we've got that planned for the year. We know where we're going for vacation.
Or the anniversary.
It's right in the middle, the 22nd, so it's right there in
during that week.
So we get to celebrate the week with people from all over the world, and 22nd anniversary, and it's been such of a part of our life for the last over a decade. It's great. So it's funny how it's just part of your life.
Celebration.
Yeah, really, people are coming out for us. They're not really coming out for the event, but whatever.
Of course,
we'll let you.
We figured we just bring a lot of people to Seattle to celebrate your 22nd, and it's the least we can do.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to take credit for that one.
Kendall brought something up we haven't really had time to talk about tonight, and that's about going caching. So, but Jesse's planning. I wish I could go this year. Got a son who's getting married, which is wonderful. But Jesse's going, and you're thinking about going, right, Brian?
I'm going. I logged my will attend. Yeah, just it'll be the first time going. I've heard so many incredible things. And I really can't wait. I see the question on the screen. At the moment, I don't think I'm a captain, and that's totally fine by me. I'm happy to participate in any way, but being a first timer, I'm just looking to experience the event. I know that there is a captain at HQ who's going to be there, and it should be a ton of fun.
Oh,
yeah, my pirate side. I went to Pirate Mania in the UK many years ago, and the executive assistant at the time got me a pirate costume, and it was like puffy shirt, like Seinfeld style, and it was so much fun. I'm gonna have to do something, but as I said in my will attend, my last name starts with R, so this event was made for me. I'm looking forward to it.
There you go.
Awesome.
A ton.
Yeah, get your pirate outfits ready, Josh Boggs. He's in South Carolina, so he's ready to go there. So
close. South Carolina is probably closer than Seattle to Rome, Georgia. But
yeah,
I don't know if you're driving, Josh, but we'll be flying across country and trying to get there early because we just saw the schedule come out. And I think Wednesday evening is the first event, so we don't want to miss it. We don't want to miss any bit of it. Should be another fun party.
Yeah, a lot of people are excited about that. There was a question, and this comes up, and I'm sure you've had this come up.
Oh, every time it comes up, right? Because we spur it on.
Many times, Brian, I know you get this asked all the time about webcams. So what's kind of the latest thought about, because they're slowly disappearing, and I know you guys have talked about it, and I know you've kind of probably debated maybe a little bit about what do we do with them, or we'd like to see it, but I know there's things that have to go from your perspective. So
there has been some discussion at HQ around webcam caches over the course of the last year. I think that we would like to do something. I don't know that it's unanimous. It may be unanimous. If it's something, if we can do it in a way that's going to delight the community, then I think it's something we're going to do eventually. At the moment, I would say we've been so busy with doing so many different things. I mean, honestly, it's with the Adventure Lab going out, with planning this 20th anniversary celebration, with doing the Virtuals 2.0, Mystery at the Museum. Exactly. Like, aside from doing like our normal everyday jobs, answering emails, creating FAQs, posting on social media, managing finances and legal stuff, and complying with GDPR and things like that. We've been really busy. So I think it's more, we're going to have to wait till things settle down just a little bit before we can contemplate doing something. But I love the idea. I really like webcam caches. I think they're a lot of fun. I'm actually one of the administrators on the webcams group on the Waymarking website. So I see them all the time, and I'm reviewing them, improving them. I think we'll get there at some point. I just don't know when.
Speaking of that, we did a show on benchmarks. Gosh, it's a while back now. Shows go flying by, but we did a show on benchmarks, And we talked a little bit about waymarking because that's kind of unique. But AFK is asking about benchmarks. He'd
Is that
love some.
AFK is Jesse?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Jesse.
What's up, Jesse?
But
How are you?
hey, Mr. Tuttle. So is there a way to get, or there's this question, can we get them updated to work with an app of some kind, or is there any discussion about grabbing because I know that they're out there, you can log them, on geocaching.com, but any thoughts?
I think that, can we? Yes, we can. Are we going to do it anytime soon? I don't, if I'm being honest, I don't think that benchmarks are a huge priority for us, even though they're cool. One of the things that we use to determine priority is we try and look at things that are going to have the biggest impact. Benchmarks is something where in the US it has an impact, but globally it's sort of insignificant. And so
Right.
doing work to support functionality like that, when there are other things we can do that would benefit the broader community, I think that automatically lowers it in the stack ranking. It was something that
makes sense.
I think at some point we could maybe add it to the API and then let folks like Cashly work with it. And we may not do the work in our app, but let GC Droid do it, or some of the other apps and services can present it in a way where, if users want to access that, they can do it. But even again, to add it to the API is something that would have to be prioritized over something else that we're already thinking about. And most of the teams right now have a pretty decent workload. And there's, we basically rebuilt our product team for the most part in the last few months, and we still have some openings, but the product team is looking at a ton of ideas and helping us think through them, stack rank them, and then actually decide to have product development resources applied to bring them to fruition. In all of the ideas that they are currently contemplating, I think it's pretty unlikely that the benchmarks are on that list today.
Right. But I like the idea you said is that just put it in there and let the various partners that you have. You have quite a few partners, and you could kind of let them. Because we talked about this before the show, and we talked about it. You mentioned it again before we came on the air, and that is, it's wonderful. It really, for Jesse and I, it really is incredible that you're willing to come on our show. But you've mentioned before that you really see everybody is able to contribute to the game, and that you've got some incredible partners out there, the Joshua Johnsons of the world, all the vloggers out there that make videos or write books, like Jesse and I've written some books. There's that. The fact that
it's the ecosystem. It's like, as I said before the show, like, this game belongs to the community. This isn't our game. This isn't your game. It's everybody's game, and it takes everybody to make it what it is. It takes the people that are hiding cool caches. It takes the people that are coding sites like Project GC or Geocache.fi, or people that are building apps like Cashly and GC Droid, and doing the podcasts and doing the vloggers. The people writing the books about geocaching, people doing movies about geocaching, people who are creating lab caches and virtual caches and Where I Goes, and building apps that play Where I Go, because we haven't touched it in so many years. And so this is the community supporting the community, and we couldn't do this alone. There's no way. It wouldn't be the same thing if not for all of the efforts, the reviewers, the volunteer moderators, the translators. There's so many people that put so much time into making this work, and together we're co-creating this ecosystem. And this ecosystem is what we all get to play, and it's something really special. So we consider ourselves really fortunate to be a part of it. I mean, the fact that I get to do this for a job, like, I don't take it for granted. I feel truly blessed, and to have so many friends around the world who get to share in this and share it with me, and I get to share it with them. We're all just really fortunate to get to reap the rewards of everybody's effort to contribute to this game.
Absolutely. Awesome. But since you mentioned where I goes, I wouldn't be me if I didn't ask. Since that is one of the global things that, no, just kidding. Is that something that it's kind of lower in the stack, but it hopefully not ever going away, but maybe some update at some point?
I would love to do something like that. You know, is it near the top of the priority list? It's not even near the top, if I'm being honest. And you know, I think, and we talked about this before, but creating Where I Goes is hard. It's a very complex system. Playing them is also hard and complex. The tools are not as great as they could be. To go focus on updating Where I Go and bringing it back to really what it should be is a tremendous amount of work. And as much as I would say, you know, we're signed up and ready to get after that, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think when it comes to multimedia location-based experiences, I think what we're doing right now, as you can see, is we're focused on the Adventure Lab app because it's easier to build them. It's easier to play them. That's today. But we have no plans at this point to turn off Where I Go. I think there's too much cool stuff, and the community has really taken on the burden of supporting it. And there's Here We Go out there, and there's a few apps that are doing a good job, and people are still playing them and logging them and creating them, which is great. Beyond that, it's you know, it is what it is for today.
UDEC had a question for you, Bryan, on translators. Are they professional or certified translators? Or how do you, is there a process, I guess?
Yes. There's a process. So it depends on the content. The answer is, you know, are they professional or certified translators? Some of them are. So the way that it works is we have two types of translations. We have translations that when we do something like talk about mystery at the museum, when we talk about things like what's going on in the community stories, our blog, our newsletter, certain aspects of the website that are translated into French and German. If it's a lot of like community-based content, those are community translators. So those are people all around the world who have volunteered to work with our teams, and we have a system where we send them strings of text and they translate them, and then we import them back, and it goes into the geocaching app, it goes on the website, things like that.
Cool. Very cool.
There is certain text for which we don't use community translators. We pay to have it translated. Specifically, you know, legal documentation, the terms of use, the privacy policy, stuff like that. Those are translated into you know, English, German, and French right now, because those are some of the most popular languages.
Right.
Those are things where, because it's a legal document, we do paid translations, and then we run it by outside counsel in those companies, in those countries, to make sure that it meets with the legal requirements of those countries.
Sure.
The second type is if there is content that is related to us selling something. So, you know, the payment page for premium memberships, things like that. We don't feel that it's appropriate for volunteers to be doing stuff that is going to help us sell product. It doesn't feel right. You know, they're volunteering to do something so that, you know, their country people, their friends and their family can participate in the game. They shouldn't be translating like, hey, here's the benefits of paying for a premium membership, subscribe. So those we use paid services, and we're really just trying to find the right balance there between what feels appropriate and what doesn't feel appropriate.
Right. Very good. Very good.
So there you go, UDAC. There's your answer.
You're perfect. Thanks, UDAC.
And I think you touched on something pretty good there too. How many companies have this many volunteers that are willing to help out for no fee regularly and help out a game like this, like the reviewers and the translators? And I don't know of a lot of other companies that would have people just
Hiders. Mhm.
doing all this irregular commitment, and they get and people aren't always nice to reviewers, so they're really putting themselves out there too.
And they should be. They should be
Oh,
really
yeah.
nice because, this is 400 or so people around the world who are, we talked about the ecosystem earlier. They are giving their free time to make sure that people can go out and play. That's not even including the people that are hiding caches,
Right.
or answering questions in the forums or things like that. You've got volunteer moderators, you've got volunteer cache reviewers, you've got volunteer translators. Those are really the three big types. And these are people who are, willing to give their time for the benefit of this community. And, thank your reviewers, be nice to them, treat them with care. They're doing it because they care about the game and they want to share it with, they want to share it with other people. I think like us, like you guys, they realize the power of this game to impact people around the world in a positive way. And because they do, they're willing to put in their time to contribute. And that, it's also priceless. At the end of the day, as I said earlier, like, we can't do this alone. We're one little company in Seattle that's trying to contribute, and we're making a living. This is our job also, but we could not possibly do this alone. This takes it takes a village, it takes a community.
Oh yeah.
Thank
your
and
reviewer.
in this case, it takes a global community. Thank your reviewers. Seriously, thank them.
Absolutely, love your reviewers.
They've done a.
I am very grateful for them, and I would never do it myself.
I have not met all of them, but I have had plenty of opportunities to meet so many of them around the world, and they're all just really good people. Anybody who's willing to give their time and effort to a game like this, you got to be special to begin with. But it's a real treat to get to meet them. And in my role, when we go to mega events, we normally do a reviewer dinner. We get to sit down and hang out with them and talk to them and hear what kind of issues are they dealing with, or what's good, what kind of stories are they hearing about the positive impacts that the game has created. And it's been really fun to know so many of them. They're some of my really close friends around the world are reviewers, because we get to interact a little more than I do with other cachers, for example.
Yeah. Well, we're starting to get toward the end of the show, but this come up a lot. I don't think Bryan knows yet all the different ones he's going to. I mean, that's kind of hard. It's a year away, but
I'm considering a lot of them. There are, the truth is, if I didn't have work to do day to day, I would, I think like everybody, we would just want to go to all of them. My wife would kill me. So that's not an option.
That's not good. Yep.
I think next year, given that it's the 20th, I know as a fact, of course, I'm going to be at our 20th celebration. I'm going to go to the Going Ape event the next day, and then I'm definitely going to make it up to Canada for Geo Woodstock. There are some events that I'm looking at in, pretty much throughout the year. I've spoken to some organizers who are planning some cool things. There's the Mingo event that we mentioned at the top of the show. Looks to be fun. There's an event in Prague that's taking place. There's an event that's coming up in New Zealand. That's, I've been to New Zealand once before, and it's just such an incredible country. There's some places that I've never been that if I have the opportunity to go, and there's a cool event there, then I'm going to see about doing that. But realistically, aside from the three that I already mentioned that I'm definitely going to, if I could possibly go to two more, I think that would be amazing. If I could jump on the company GeoJet.
I love some of the comments people put.
Wouldn't that be something? We for what it's worth, we all fly coach.
That's
and that is just fine.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
Because the money that we get from premium memberships should be used on doing something more than sitting in a nicer seat for 9 hours. It's no GeoJet, but the truth is, it's the same flight. Whether you're sitting in first class or in coach class, it's the same 9.5 hours, and to be able to travel particularly overseas and throughout the United States, has been a dream come true. And I would love to do more of it. Personally, it's really just about balancing priorities. I do have a job that kind of keeps me busy, and I've got a family that I actually love spending time with. And so if I can bring them to an event or two, that'd be cool. But realistically, I don't know how many I get to see in 2020, but the more the merrier. Whatever I can make happen, I'm going to make happen.
We know something that you touched on, and from our perspective as being part of the geocaching community, and I've heard this mentioned a couple times, and you mentioned it also as well. But we feel like, at least I think the people I've talked to, and Jesse, you can chime in on this, but we feel like that you guys have done a great job. HQ has done a good job of managing, like you said, that you're being fiscally conservative with the money that sort of we've entrusted you with from our premium memberships and everything. You put out great quality items to purchase. I mean, I think we've all felt like that. Everybody I've ever talked to has said that they felt like you guys are doing a great job, and hope that the finances are going well. And we always, because it's kind of like you said, it's kind of our game too. It's like we need you guys to do well, because we need y'all to be financially healthy, so that the rest of us can enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's companies out there, and we've said before, like, we can't bet the farm on some new idea. We have to be conservative because we have a duty to the community to make sure that this game is around for many, many years to come, and we don't take it lightly. It's an important aspect of what it is that we do. So we're going to continue to be fiscally conservative, and we're going to continue to, I was talking with somebody just the other day, and they were saying, actually, I was going to the Mariners game with a buddy who's a former lackey, and I was meeting him downtown in Seattle, and I took an Uber down there because the buses were going to be a while. Yeah. And this guy was from Egypt, and he was driving for Uber. He used to be an engineer at some other company, and he was telling me all about the famous Egyptian soccer player who's one of the best in the world and plays for Liverpool, who just won the championship. It was really cool. And he asked me what I do. I told him about geocaching. Invariably, we got to the question of how do you make money? And I said, well, we have a premium membership program. It's $30 a year. And he said, how long has it been $30 a year? And I said, well, since we started. And he said,
oh, as I remember it.
Yeah, I mean, that was the original price. And he said, wow. well, why don't you raise the price? Can't you make more money? And I know people who have said to me, like, I would pay much more for this, $30, why don't you raise the price? And what I have said repeatedly is the people that play, the premium members, if they continue to feel like $30 a year is a fair deal, that we're giving back as much value as $30 a year, well, then we don't need to charge them more. We just need to say, hey, please tell your friends, tell the other players, say, like, look, this seems fair. This is not a company that's trying to gouge us or take advantage of us. And if we can get more people who are willing to do that, well, then that gives us more financial resources that we could apply to more staff, better benefits for the staff so that we can take better care of our employees, so that we can retain them longer, a better marketing budget so that maybe we can do more robust promotions. Just gives us more flexibility. And so far, me and Jeremy and Elias and the entire team of lackeys, I think, has done a really good job of understanding why that's so important. And we talk about having a bootstrap mentality. We're not a company that's gone out and take VC funding or private equity. We're not doing an IPO or anything like that. We're trying to run a business that supports the community through community support. And that's, we have in our internal vision statement, we basically say, We don't own the game of geocaching. We have to earn the right to be the global headquarters for geocaching through generous service to the community. And that's something that feels right. And, you know, we can come to work feeling good about what it is that we're trying to do. And if we can make it fair, if we can be a company that ideally we're giving more than $30 worth of value to everybody who's a premium member, well, then we can rest easy at night and feel like we're doing a good thing as a company. So it's a real treat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
that's
like this
nice.
idea.
I gave my son a premium membership.
Yeah.
That's really lovely, and I hope he loves it. I hope he gets the most out of it and really enjoys it.
Yeah, that is great.
It's funny. It's such a cheap membership. We had a question a couple months back. Somebody's asked Gary and I both, is that one of those things you get if you're only premium? And neither one of us had any clue. We've had it for so long. It's been such an automatic part. We don't even know what it's like to not. I don't even question that. When it comes up, it's automatically just renews. Every year. I mean, it's not one of those. I don't even remember what it was like to not. I don't know what features aren't included because I've had premium for so long, and everybody I've converted just becomes premium after like the first week. They're like, well, I'll just pay for this. I'll do this.
I mean,
that's $30. That's like 4 Starbucks.
Exactly. In the grand scheme of things, it's a, you know, and not for everybody. I mean, different countries have different economic climates and things like that. And so $30 for us here in the US isn't necessarily the same thing as the folks in the Czech Republic. But we try and keep it fair, and we try and provide the right amount of value. And, you know, we also want to make it something that, look, if you can't play it, if you can't pay $30 a year, well, you can use the website. You know, everything's unlocked on there except the PMO caches. You can use some of these other apps like Cachly and GC Droid and some of the other ones, and you can still play. And it should be that way because, again, this game belongs to the community.
Yeah. Somebody asked about Owen from KC asked about maybe making different tiers of membership, maybe to give people who want to give more. I don't know. That's an idea that way people
so I
can't
have an
complain.
answer.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
have an answer for Owen. And so
Cool.
what I would say is, if you're willing to pay us $30 a year for a premium membership, then everything that we make, we are going to give to you. So I don't want to have another tier of membership that's more where we have to say to somebody, hey, thanks for being a premium member. Oh, we made this new thing, but you're going to have to pay more for it. I would much rather say, hey, everything we make, you get it. It feels like the right thing to do, and it's worked for us so far. You know, hey, we're almost at 20 years. It's worked well enough that we're doing just fine. You know, it's it feels like a fair balance. So I don't think there's any plans to make other tiers. Again, if you're a premium membership, if you're a premium member, everything that we build and everything we do is going to be for you and available to you. As a basic member, it's, hey, we're going to try and give you as good of an experience as possible. You do not have to be a premium member if you don't want to, or if you can't afford it, but we want to make it worth your while if you choose to do it.
Yeah.
I think that comment, Josh, we still got it up on the screen. That's perfect. If you
Give
want to give back even more, get somebody else in and just buy them a premium membership for a year. It's $30. You'll have another person to go that can do all the things that you can do now. So it's great.
Bring a friend.
That's right.
It's true.
That's right.
Bring a friend.
Yeah. All right.
Sounds great.
We are going to wrap up for the night. I guess let's go around the room and do some final thoughts on whichever topic you want to grab, either Mystery Museum or 20th or whatever.
There's so many things.
That's what we talked about tonight. Right? I know. So that's what I'm saying. You can't really talk about all of them. Pick one, I guess, and give a final thought. So
give Bryan about 30 seconds to think through his answer here. Put you on the spot.
So I'll go first, then Jesse,
then
Bryan, just to make it easier for you guys. But because I have a couple final thoughts, and one is that Bryan, it's so great to have you on. Our little show has grown over the last 3 years. We just passed our 30th anniversary, and thank you, sir. And
really.
It means a lot to us. I talk to people, and I talk to people at work, and they're like, well, what's going on? And well, I'll tell you what, I'm having the president of geocaching on my show on Sunday, our show, and they're like, "Wow, he really?" It's like, yeah, he's willing, and I think that
Why not? Why not?
I know, but so many people are like, "Well, I don't have time for those people." But,
I'm sure that that's the case for a lot of people. We
Yeah.
we don't take ourselves too seriously at
Mhm.
HQ. And look,
Right.
I'm
Which is great.
I am another member of this community, and like the reviewers who are giving their time, like here on a Sunday night, whatever. Like when we're done, I'm going to go out to dinner with my wife, and she's been waiting patiently and looking forward to it. But for me to be able to participate, look, it's a pleasure to talk to you guys. I love these
Appreciate it.
conversations and to
Yeah.
hear what people have to say and people's perspective on what it is that we're doing or the questions that they have. Like,
Mhm.
again, if I can do anything to make this a better experience for you guys and your audience out there and the
Mhm.
people that your audience is going to get to talk to going forward, well, then what a treat it is for me to be a part of it. Like I'm happy to come on board. And I think as we get closer to the 2020 event and things
Mhm.
like that, I'm happy to come back on again
Yeah,
and talk
we
about
appreciate
some
that.
more stuff and even as we make some progress with Adventure Labs and
Mhm.
I'd love to hear what you guys think about Mystery at the Museum when it's all said
Oh,
and
yeah.
done.
Definitely.
So we can do it again.
That's awesome. So, Jesse, give you a shot at that.
Thanks, Three
Yeah, and
Happy Campers.
I'll
by
be
the way.
brief
Yeah.
because I want to keep Brian out of the doghouse. He's got to take the family out to dinner.
Right.
I understand how that is. I get those eyes sometimes too, looking like, hey guys.
Hey, wrap it
Um,
up. Wrap it
Yeah,
up.
thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
are very happy in the chat room that you answered the questions and that you gave out information and you spent the time to come on the show and kind of chat with us on this Sunday evening or whatever. And everybody is really excited about this 20-year anniversary coming up. It's hard to imagine this game's been going on for 20 years and it's such a huge part. And we talked about this before the show, but it's such a huge part
my
of
dog.
people's
There
lives.
you are.
And
my
we
dog.
just thank you for being part of the company that allows this community to be out here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Wrap us
We got
up,
my
Brian.
dog.
I
All right.
know.
Well,
Hey.
listen. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to participate in this. It's been a real treat. I hope to see you all at the 2020 celebration, and if not sooner, somewhere at an event or somewhere on the trail, come up and say hi. Come visit. It's really a treat. It's an honor for all of us to be part of this community, and thanks for all you guys do to contribute. And we'll see you out there hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thanks everybody for being there tonight. Thank you in the chat room. We tried. Hopefully, this new format has worked well. Hopefully, if you have any comments on that, geocachetalk@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and click on the subscribe button. Let's see if I get it right. I get it right, Jesse. It's this corner, that corner right there. Wherever the subscribe button is, click on that if you would for us and ring the bell notification, and that'll remind you about the show each week. And again, thank you so much. Thank you, Brian, for being on. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching. Need to go to plan your 2020. I know there's still a lot to go, but plan your 2020s, your 2020 events, and go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, get out there and play, everybody. Have a good time. Cheers.
Right.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye.
Thanks so much, guys.
Good night.
Good night.